3:15, they say they're going to try to get this one in. Clayton is going to be pushed back to tomorrow as far as his live session with McAllister. Lineup should be out soon. I know Smith is going to catch. He'll catch Tony Gonsolin. Taylor will be there playing short. Muncie will be out there. Bellinger will be there. Kike was playing.
Do you feel nervous about putting any of these people out of the field?
Well, I do. You know what? A little bit on the outfield side. So we're certainly going to go over there and walk it and see how it looks. But they've got their guys out there too. So especially early on, very, very cognizant of health for sure. Yeah. It's not ideal.
That was diplomatic.
Right. Yes, exactly.
If you can't play, does the pitching get rolled over?
It'll just get, there'll be some piggybacking, and then some guys will get pushed back. But if it does happen, if that's the case, then Alex will start, and then Tony will piggyback Alex. And then we'll kind of figure out the position player thing.
Right.
Who makes that call?
As far as
Who ultimately makes the call? Is it team, the Giants, or
Giants,
the team itself?
the team itself. So they said that there's a window at 3 o'clock. So they want to get this game. So I think it's so we have no. It's their call. But I do think that once we get there and the umpires get there, that we could kind of make a decision ultimately. But to get us over there is step number one.
What time's the bus?
Bus will be at 12. 12:15.
Sounds like it's letting up.
What do you got, Kenny?
You gonna play Mookie tomorrow?
Yeah. He'll be in right field tomorrow, and then on Monday, Belly will be in center, and then on Monday, one of those guys will DH.
Who's the starting pitcher Monday? Gonsolin, Wood, next.
Yeah, we haven't. Pryor knows it. I'm not sure right now.
Everybody healthy to play? Anybody being held back?
Jock's got a little side issue. I don't know which side it is, but I guess just where we're at right now, kind of minimizing activity. He'll ramp back up starting tomorrow, so I think yesterday and today, very minimal. And then he'll go back to swinging the bat tomorrow. And when he's due to play in a game, that remains to be seen. But certainly more preventative.
Did you have eyes on Gratterall when he pitched to Will Smith the other day? If you did, what impression did you have? What was your first impression?
So I didn't see the live. I've seen 2 of his pens, and what's impressed me most is his command with the fastball, with the slider and the changeup. But I didn't see that.
Dave, yesterday you had Ross Striplings pitch, and it looked like everybody was watching him. What are the things you're looking for in terms from a starter's point of view and then a reliever's point of view, and then what's your impressions and your staff's impression of that?
Ross is his value is his versatility, his ability to get left and right out. He looks really good physically as far as kind of just the strength. He has command of 3-4 pitches. And so right now, as we see, Ross is just continuing to build him up as a starter. And when you look out 3-4 weeks from now, the picture will be more clear. But you have to you can always kind of adjust, but right now we're just building up as a starter.
Okay, and then I heard that he worked on a changeup in the offseason. He has a new grip on it. Like, did you get to see it yesterday? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, and I did, and I've seen it, and it's really good, and he has really good feel. And a lot of with pitching is guys mess with different grips, whether it's slider, curveball, the changeup, and so he found something that works for him. And the key is arm speed. And so now when you can feel like I can throw it and let it go and still have the action that I want, and that changeup grip that he's found, he's really comfortable. And it's a weapon that he can get righties and lefties out with.
How's Dustin May coming along?
Dustin is coming along well. He every day has gotten better, so he's supposed to throw a pen here, I think tomorrow. So he's tracking.
Dave, do you know if he's trying to cultivate a new pitch, a third pitch?
Dustin?
Spring? Yeah.
So Dustin is fastball, cutter. He's trying to work on striking the changeup, or the breaking ball, the curveball, be more consistent with that, and develop the changeup. But I wouldn't say he's thrown them all, so I don't know if there's a grip situation, but there's something that's new that he's developing.
Is that vital for him to be a starter?
I think the changeup, because he uses the cutter to get lefties out, but I think the changeup to front back hitters is important for him. And also being able to strike the breaking ball when he needs to get back in a count or get ahead. Yeah, because when you're talking about a guy that has a potential to be a top end rotation guy, to now have different weapons when you're talking about going through the lineup 3 times, yeah, it's important.
How much of a chance does he have to make the team in the bullpen role?
I don't see the bullpen role out of camp. Anything can happen, things can change, but obviously we view him as a starter. He pitched in the pen last year when he got called up, but and made some starts. But I think right now we're going to continue to build him up as a starter, but I just don't see it making a whole lot of sense as a young player to put him in the pen out of camp. So we'll see.
Considering what you have starter-wise, that doesn't bode well.
It's and we understand that he's done some really good things for us, and right now things can change as far as health. So, we're just encouraging Dustin to control what he can control, and right now it's get healthy and get on the mound and build up that pitch count.
Is that the same thing with Gonsolin?
They're in the same bucket, but I think that Tony, there's probably more of a conversation if things can break and fall out a little bit differently as far as roles. But we certainly view both those guys as starters, so yeah.
Why the difference? Why would you consider Gonsolin for a bullpen?
I think age is one thing. Innings, as far as where Tony's at, where Dustin's at overall. So there's just other things but we see them both as starters.
I think Gonsolin's sort of 2-pitch fastball splitter, so compatible kind of well.
That, yeah, and his mix is more scaled down, and there's a breaking ball in there, but it's pretty much 2-pitch pitcher.
The fact that he's done it in the minors play into it at all?
Absolutely.
There's a great mix of veterans and young players on this squad here, some training and everything. I'm seeing Kenley working out by himself a lot. Does he ever go up to like a player like Dustin May and teach him some of the stuff that he's learned through his career about the cutter, especially now that he's kind of like trying to just transform the way he's working out with all the driveline exercises?
I don't know. I can't really speak to their relationship. I do know that Dustin is very curious, and the cutter, as far as Kenley's cutter, Dustin, there's different characteristics of the two pitches, but really understanding what the cutter's supposed to do to left-hand hitters. Dustin really is understanding more. But Kenley is more of a guy that just sort of leads by example. He kind of does his own deal and work, but still a good teammate.
Is that typical for a player like Kenley at this point in his career to be working on mechanical adjustments? Is that fine-tuning process ongoing?
Yes, and I think that most guys, I guess you can kind of, some guys like to talk about mechanics, some guys don't like to talk about mechanics, but Kenley, with being a bigger body guy, seems to always get out of whack. And I don't think we appreciated how much that hamstring affected him over the course of a year. And so going to drive line and kind of looking at things and the way his body was moving was really eye-opening. So I do think it is something that guys need to be aware of, because you get off the rails pretty quickly, you know, and one little thing leads to something else, and you kind of look back and figure out, you know, where you just get lost in where you're at mechanically. So Kenley is very now in tune with where he needs to be.
You were asked.
What does that say about his mental, I guess, fortitude maybe, to be able to realize that something was wrong and foundationally and go back and correct it?
Yeah, you know, it took a lot to get to that point, and I think that, you know, as a player, you always want to feel good, and sometimes you just can't understand why the ball, whether it's characteristics, whether it's velocity, is not doing what you expect it to do. But last year was a tough year for Kenley, and so it was kind of a situation where he realized that he wasn't right all year long, and he was kind of tinkering and trying to figure it out. So to his credit, he exhausted every option, and he's in a really good place, mentally and physically.
Last year this time, Caleb was a guy that was going to be built up as a starter, but I think he made the most appearances as a left-hander out of the bullpen last year. Do you see him as a reliever now, or is it build up to be a starter?
I think Fergie is a reliever. I think that could be debated, but I think that we see him as a reliever who can get left and right out. His breaking ball, he really has cleaned that up as far as shortening it. The fastball has the life that we like, but I see him as a multiple inning guy, but as a reliever.
We spoke to you about Cleric and the left-handed special, like sort of the three-batter rule. So you mentioned just now that Caleb is a guy who can get lefties and righties out. So when it comes to bullpen composition, how do you manage it, like in terms of figuring out?
I mean, you look at three lefties, Ferguson, Cleric, and Alexander. You know, with Alexander and Ferguson throughout their careers are kind of neutral as far as, you know, the splits, and Adam not as much. But what he did against left-handers last year, giving him the opportunity to see if that upshoot plays against right-hand hitters. We've got some tough decisions to make. You know, you're not going to be able to carry all three of them. So, yeah, time will tell.
Could it be the kind of thing where, like, teams just nowadays will just not have a left-hander if they can't find one, will get ready to?
I think that's fair as far as having the guy that's the left-handed specialist. So, but to run the play out, to give that lefty specialist an opportunity to see if he can be sufficient against the right-handed hitter, especially to make up what we think of Adam, I think is very important. But it's going to be a tougher because there's no niche role anymore. Yeah.
Did for May and Gonsolin, did the path change when you added pieces to the bullpen, like trying to, like Gratterall, kind of close that option a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as, you know, adding those guys that you mentioned as just bullpen pieces, and obviously with Gratterall, the upside potential, trying in the history. yeah, there's only so many spots.
Right.
But I think that, you know, the short and the long view, we see these guys as starters, and just kind of preserving the starter depth and is important for their development, us as an organization, but things change.
You had Julio pitch yesterday. You know, he's coming to camp with significant weight loss, a different look. What kind of things are you expecting from him? Like, what kind of change from last year's off the field issues? What kind of conversations have you had with him to get him ready for this year?
With the conversation we've had with Julio, it's just more of encouraging. He understands what's in front of him. He's got to continue to stay healthy, take care of his body. And last year was very difficult on a lot of fronts. But also the inconsistency of role, I think, was hard for Julio. And we take for granted his buy-in sometimes, but now it's like things will be more regimented as a starter. So with that, with the way he looks physically, to sustain that, I think he's going to have a really nice year.
So is that how that learning process on Julio, is that affecting the way you're treating Tony and Dustin, and the way you're having them grow in their roles?
I would say that with Dustin and Julio really mirror, I think because of the potential as far as pitch mix, the age, they're very comparable. So to be mindful of that. With Tony, I think there's a little bit more latitude as far as roles, with age, with pitch mix, and all that kind of stuff.
So he's in your rotation? Julio?
Right now, that's where we see him. All right. Thank you.